encourage your soul, enlighten your mind, and empower your faith. This is the Light Network.
You know what time it is, no matter where you've been. So let's do it again. Listen up and let the sun shine in. We've got soul training. Time to practice what you preach. Ooh, yeah. Yes, we do. We've got soul training.
And here's Daniel, Alan, and Joe.
Joe, how much did you weigh when you were born?
I don't know. I know I was small. Is like
well, we all
six,
are small.
Is 6.5? Is that pretty small? I think I was
That's
around
small.
there.
Were you a preemie?
I was a preemie. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thunk it. Looking at you now,
And I'm a big boy now.
you over. I always tell everybody I survived anorexia. So you survived being a preemie.
I did.
How big were you?
7 something. I don't know.
Wow.
And I've honestly never really understood why the birth weight is a thing that everybody's supposed to remember, and we publicize it. Why is it such a big deal as long as it's within the realm of what's healthy?
Survivability.
Yeah.
I think it's like going fishing. It's like telling fishing stories. Like, I caught one this big, and we brought home this one.
We'll put it this way: I was there, but I really don't remember much.
You don't remember your birth story?
No.
No.
You'll have to ask my mom.
I was 11'9". I was almost 12 pounds. Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, sure was. Yeah.
So, okay, let's clear this up for the listener and for me.
The doctor smacked me, and I smacked him back.
You always say you rode home in the front seat.
I
I want to
did.
know if that's true or if that's just Alan exaggerating.
They gave me a little comb over, and I kind of tilted the seat back. We didn't have car seats in 1973, Joe. Next thing I know, I'm eating biscuits and dipped in coffee later on, talking, like they said, like at 8 months.
Wow.
But it was, my brother was, I think he was around 10 or 11 pounds.
Really?
Yep. And, 14, 15 inches long, both of us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big boys.
Big, yeah. I'm still growing too.
All right.
No, I was, back in the 70s, and this is, I'm not making, too much fun, but in our little town, it got out that I never knew any kid who was ever kidnapped. I never knew one child who was ever kidnapped. But it got out in the community that there was supposedly, it had the potential to happen. And so me and my buddy, we would walk down the street here up to first grade, and that's out of all the things my parents worried about, they never worried about me getting kidnapped. Or my buddy, he was never kidnapped material either. So it benefits.
It would take multiple kidnappers, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I don't think they had the manpower or the food because we get fussy. I still get fussy. As you can see, we love babies, even of all shapes and sizes. And we all have children, and we can talk about our kids sometime in another episode. We can just call it, the soul training children or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
But we're going to talk about the importance and the value of a life. We're going to talk about babies. We're going to talk about a little bit of timeline. I have notes here, timeline of the development in the womb.
Yeah.
And how.
Well, don't give all of your notes there.
Oh, I won't. I'm sorry. You just got me excited about the old days when I came home from the hospital.
And we should mention, too, this is kind of a lighthearted intro for a very, very serious topic. And so I think I've just successfely brought us back down. So I'm sorry.
Thanks.
I undid everything you worked to build up.
That's okay.
That's true. I feel down right now.
It's okay, Joe. But you are right. No kidding. I thought about this today, that it is super serious. And it's one of those very emotional, hot button topics, and that we seek to not avoid, but try to shed some light on, and so that we'll do our best. So I just had shared I had a couple questions you all can tackle. But does the Bible show that life begins before birth? What does Exodus 21 teach about the unborn? How should Christians respond to cultural views on abortion? That's kind of what I had in my head. Mm-hmm. So I'll let you all pass the ball to you all.
Well, when you think about abortion, there are a handful of issues that really really kind of set the standard for me. And I think people can get caught up in some stuff that isn't as important, but for me, it kind of boils down to 2 or 3 things. One is human life has intrinsic value. Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 and 27, because it's created in the image of God. That imago Dei, that image of God, is a really big thing. It's a big deal, and that means that human life is valuable not because of its functionality, not because of its usefulness, not because of its viability. It's none of those other things. It's valuable because it carries the image of God. You couple that with the burden that godly people have to defend the innocent. God hates hands that shed innocent blood, right? And was that Proverbs? Help me out. That was Proverbs 6, 16 and 17. Hands that shed innocent blood is in that list of things that God hates. So human life has intrinsic value. God hates hands that shed innocent blood. What's more innocent than a preborn child that hasn't had the chance to do anything to anybody? That's the most innocent of the innocent. And then I think we unnecessarily take on the burden of proof sometimes when it comes to when does life begin. Because if life begins at conception is kind of the easiest line of demarcation. But if you were going to argue that it begins at viability, or you're going to argue that it begins at some other point, if you're the one that is wanting to end that life, then the burden of proof ought to be on you to prove that that is not a human life, rather than us having to argue that it is a human life. Does that make sense? Right.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I've never understood this. The folks that would claim that a baby's not a person.
Yeah.
A baby in the womb is not a person.
Mm-hmm.
That's their argument. But mere minutes in between being inside the mother and outside the mother, suddenly that's what happens. It's a person.
That's what happens.
And so why 10 minutes ago when it was in the womb, not a person? 10 minutes later, everybody, that's a baby, it's a person. It's a baby both ways. I was born prematurely. And so did I not become a person until I was full term? I mean, what's the logic here?
And I think some pro-abortionists are even seeing that that's kind of artificial, and they're taking it to the wrong direction. Be like, a post-birth abortion, the idea that this child isn't wanted, it can't live by itself. If you just abandon it, it's going to die, and so you didn't want it. Maybe you wanted to abort it earlier, and it didn't go right. I mean those ideas are atrocious to me, and so there's a spectrum. And I guess we're probably going to cover some of that spectrum now. But Alan brought up Exodus chapter 21, so we probably should mention that.
I got it.
You got it?
Exodus 21, starting at verse 22 through 25.
Yeah.
When men strive together and hit a pregnant woman so that her children come out, but there is no harm, the one who hit her shall surely be fined, as the woman's husband shall impose on him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. But if there is harm, then you shall pay life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe.
Yeah, so the significance there is not that anybody's trying to apply the same judicial standards of the Old Testament to today, but the fact that there was penalty, life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, kind of penalty for protections on behalf of the unborn child. So if if he's born as a result of this assault on the mother, then he or she has protections that are due to him. And even some laws in states around the country, a lot of them, quite a bit actually, have penalties if you assault a woman that is pregnant and the baby dies. If the woman wanted the baby, then there's penalties. And so I don't know why it changes if she wants the baby or not. That doesn't change whether or not the baby is a human life. It doesn't change that intrinsic value. That's right.
Another verse we can go to is, let's look at Psalms real fast. Psalms 139.
13 through 16.
13 through 16. Yeah. For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well. My frame was not hidden from you when I was being made in secret, intricately woven in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed substance. In your book were written, every one of them, the days that were formed for me, when as yet there was none of them. It's talking about David being in the womb, and God made him there.
Mm-hmm.
And so if God's playing a part in this and making folks in the womb, that alone, whether it's life or not, that feels wrong to disturb that. But we know through common sense and through other places that it is a life, that it is a child, that it is a human in there. So have we established, and I know this is a 30-minute podcast, y'all. We can't cover all of it. But have we established that is a child, you think, in the womb? Baby steps towards it anyhow.
Yeah, it's obviously established in our minds. If somebody's coming to the podcast, previously strongly decided that it's not a child, I don't know that we've swayed them in 3 or 4 minutes, however long we've been talking about this. 12 minutes. And time flies.
It does.
Time flies. Yeah. I used to have a friend that used to always say, at time, like one frog said to another, time's fun when you're having flies.
Wow.
Anyway, I don't get the idea that life begins anywhere other than conception. It's hard for me to psychologically wrap my mind around that.
This is a little bit of a side note, and I'm not a scientist.
Yeah.
But I have heard at that moment of conception,
mm-hmm.
there's a burst of light that happens right then. Have you heard that?
I have heard that. I don't know how they decide how that was measured or whatever. I don't know if it's true, but I have heard that.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah.
So let's say that we have established it. 30-minute podcast. That's a child in there.
Mm-hmm.
We've established that there's some sort of precedent in the Bible about it's wrong to kill that child. I feel like so there's some things that we need to do. Something that seems to be missing a lot from the church is compassion here.
Right.
I've never been through a situation where there's been one of my children terminated,
mm-hmm.
either through this or another means.
Right.
So I can't really speak as someone who's been there, but doesn't mean I can't love folks that have, because it seems to be, I know from what I've heard and read, a lot of folks, this is a very emotional thing. They went through and had their abortion thinking that was the only choice that they had.
Right.
They didn't do it because necessarily they were terrible, murderous people. But they thought that's what they had to do.
Yeah, I would think most of them, the vast majority, are not what you would think of as being a terribly murderous person.
Right. And so our responsibility then is if we do know of someone who's struggling with this, who's thinking about this, or maybe has had one in the past, and it's weighed on them, because I have heard that when you have one, that sticks with you. It changes you. Our responsibility is to show those folks love and compassion and guide them where they need to be now. Like we would anybody that's dealing with guilt or sin or anything else in their life like the rest of us.
Yeah.
We need to love them. And because a lot of times it's like, if you watch the news, you got the pro-abortion protest and they're yelling, and the anti-abortion protests, they're yelling too.
Right.
And there ain't any love on either side.
No.
So there needs to be some love somewhere. That would help.
Before you, even consider, hopefully nobody considers abortion, but before that, when I say consider, I'm going to go back just a little bit, but just give a plug. We have a baby box, our congregation, our local fire department, that's, before you consider the option of abortion, you should hopefully will consider other means if I know we're not.
That's excellent point. And so what you're getting at is
there are options.
There are other options. Give that child a chance. You can do it through the baby box that we have here in our hometown, and I know they're around I forget is that the official name of it?
I'm not sure. Well, I do know if you Google them. Google
they're
baby
around
box,
the country.
Baby box your community.
Our country, yeah. But another option is adoption. I know Daniel and me and my family, not my boys, but one of my nieces, are adopted. Now, my family has been very much blessed by that adoption, and Daniel's has too with his. So there are folks that maybe that child seems like it's going to be a burden to you, and you're not ready, or that sort of thing. But there are options. There are folks out there who desperately want that child. And
we should define what a baby box is. I don't think we told people, but it's a location, and these are all over the country where you can safely, I hate to say abandon, but you can safely leave your child. You can safely leave your child if you don't want to. You've had a baby, you don't want to raise that baby. For one reason or another, without judgment, you can safely and legally leave your child there, and he or she will be taken care of.
They're in safe places that are monitored. Like ours is in our
a paid fire department.
It's in our fire department here, and there's some kind of bell that goes off, so they know immediately.
The way it's explained to me is if that were to happen, there's like an alarm that goes off, and the firemen there in the building, they immediately respond, and they have a protocol from what they do from that point on, and you're not in trouble or anything like that.
No, and nobody's going to know. Like, it's not on camera. They even, I think, have a certain delay before they come and check on the baby because they won't want to give you time to get away. And that's, my daughter was abandoned when she was about a week old at the gates of an orphanage, a place that had a house where you could abandon somebody. Now, actually, she wasn't placed in that safe box. She was actually laid on the ground at the gates of the orphanage. But nonetheless,
but aren't you glad?
I'm so glad. Yeah, because now she is a critical part of our family, and that happened 10 years ago on a cold night in a city all the way on the other side of the world. And now she's in a loving Christian home, and she is adored by so many people.
She is.
And if
she's adorable too.
She is. And if her biological mom had not made that choice to relinquish her child and instead had decided to abort her, the world would be a poorer place as a result of it.
It would be. She brings a lot of light here. I know whenever we see her here in the congregation where we attend, you can't help but smile. So we've got some. Did y'all read any of the articles I sent to you?
I skimmed them.
I remember getting them. While you're pulling that up, and we may have already passed this, but you asked a really good question a while ago. You said, "How can people not say that you're not a human inside the womb?" I don't see how people can say that, and I just when you're ready, I have a few bullet points that lays out the timeline of when that happens. I mean, so you're a human. Okay, you're valued.
Go ahead.
Psalm 139.
You
Okay.
introduced it. Keep going.
Week 1 and 2, fertilization and implantation. That's based on the Psalm 139 principle. Week 3 or 4, early formation. Heart begins to form and may start beating. Basic structures develop. Week 5 and 6, organ beginnings. Brain activity begins. Limb buds appear. Week 7 and 8, recognizable human features. Fingers, toes, facial features form. Embryo now called a fetus. Week 9 through 12, growth and movement. Organs continue developing. Movement begins, though not yet felt by the mother. Week 13 through 20, development and response. Baby grows rapidly and can respond to stimuli. And then we get to meet the baby. Week 21 through 40, maturation. Continued growth, organ maturity, and preparation for birth. So go back to week 1 and 2. Life begins, Psalm 139 principle. A unique genetic identity is formed.
Where'd you get that? Is that Alan Jones research?
Well, I mean, I didn't come up with it. We
don't want to plagiarize.
No. It's just,
medical knowledge.
Medical knowledge, yeah.
Okay. Well, so one of these articles I sent you had something about the percentage of women. There's apparently a survey by this organization called CareNet, and it says 70% of women who reported having an abortion identified as, quote, Christian. 70%. And 43% of women who had an abortion in 2021, I guess when the survey came out, regularly attended church. And so to me, this abortion issue isn't necessarily something that unchurched people have to deal with, and those in the church, that's not our issue. According to this survey, now it's going to vary congregation to congregation, and maybe more certain denominations are dealing with it more than others, but still, in all of Christendom, 70% of women who have reported having an abortion identify as a Christian. To me, that's staggering.
It is.
And so there's a chance you know somebody that's been there.
Yeah, maybe even a probability.
And so, like I said, we need to have compassion. I'm passionate about it because I believe that we're murdering, what does it say in here? Something like 90, I don't want to quote it. It's several million.
Tens of millions. Yeah.
Tens of millions.
Yeah.
And how far does that go back? How many decades?
No, let me see.
Well, see, and it's so difficult to have a calm, logical conversation between people that disagree on this issue because it's so emotional and so people are so passionate. Matter of fact, probably there are a significant number of people that wouldn't even think about listening to this podcast, this episode, because we're three men talking about it. And they would say, well, you don't even have the right to have an opinion on this because you don't have a uterus. No uterus, no opinion.
Yeah. Well, a man played a part in this.
Yeah.
If there's and so there's, I don't like that argument, but you're right.
Yeah, I don't like the argument either. I didn't say it was a valid argument.
But an argument it is.
So it looks like a little over 1 million abortions per year is what we're averaging in the U.S. Globally, it's going to be more because it's not just a U.S. issue.
That's right. And then so you're going to have people screaming, "My body, my choice." And again, these are not reasoned, put into logic because it does involve your body, but by the time there is a baby there, it's not only your body. It involves another human body as well.
Week 1 and 2, life begins.
Exactly. And so, once you have a heartbeat, whose heartbeat is stopping? Which body is being killed by this? So that's not logical. But then the argument that gets thrown back at the pro-life side is to say, well, yeah, you're pro-life as long as the baby's in the womb. But what about the hard situation that this mother's in? Are you doing anything to help take care of her? What about babies that are born in desperate situations and aren't aborted? Are you doing anything to help take care of those babies? And, I would say that's a false dichotomy. Like, yeah, we should do things to help those that are in need, whether it be the babies, whether it be the moms. And yes, it's legitimate to say we should be kind and helpful in those situations, but that doesn't mean our perceived failure or real failure to do enough to help in those situations justifies killing the babies.
Also,
you're saying that some people go, well, you are not going to be sensitive to this situation, so abortion is the way to go. Is that what you're saying?
Well, kind of. Maybe not quite that flippant.
I'm playing devil's advocate here. I'm just saying.
Yeah, they would say that you don't actually care about the life. You don't care about the baby, or you would help the baby when it was born.
Through adulthood.
Well, through whatever point. Now, I'm not saying this is my opinion. I'm just trying to relay the argument.
You've heard that argument.
I've heard that argument, yeah. And we try to deal with arguments on their merits and not just like be defensive.
And and I know this is a whole nother podcast, but I mean, just on the surface, what's your definition of an abortion?
Killing a baby in the womb.
But what I'm saying is not just a baby; it's taking a life. And I know another.
There's not even going to be any other lives in the womb.
Well, not in the womb, but I'm just saying like another murdering that happens, and like I said, that's a whole other podcast. But Dr. Kevorkian, years ago, the assisted suicide.
Oh, yeah.
So can you have?
We can talk about that on another podcast.
Geriatric abortion. I'm saying that's a whole nother.
I don't think you'd call it geriatric. I think you just coined that phrase.
Yeah. Well, I mean, either way, you're taking a life on either end.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you shouldn't.
Yeah. So what's actually aborted is the pregnancy.
Right.
Like you abort a mission, you quit the mission. The pregnancy has been ceased. It's been aborted.
So, okay, we're getting close to the end, which brings us to the application part. What can we do? But before we give our ideas on what we can do, I just want to bring it up. Abortion is not a new thing. We didn't invent this 50 years ago. It's been around thousands and thousands of years. In fact, Daniel, you might know, you're a bit of a historian, but I've heard that the Romans were super into it, and they aborted the babies, and if they didn't abort the baby, they had the baby and just left it outside so the animals could eat if they didn't want it, that sort of thing. But something changed there in the first century. And what changed is the spread of Christianity. And when Christians started giving up their pagan ways, they started taking care of those babies and raising those children that were unwanted. And they ended some of those practices in large part. And so the takeaway I get from that is they did something. Right. They just didn't sit there and gripe it. Well, I wish people stopped living their babies outside. They didn't gripe about it. They did something about it. And so what can we do? And I'll answer my first question. I'll answer it first. First is obviously there's a political aspect. My advice to our listener is research the folks, during elections and see what their stances are. Because we're talking just in the U.S., a million deaths a year. And if you look at, if the statisticians dive into it, we're getting older. And older countries don't survive long. And so we need these babies just for that. Forget all the murder and the whatnot. We need the babies because we're getting older. So that's my first suggestion is just whenever you vote, every politician's got a website, go see where they stand.
Yeah, and don't just look at their stated stances. Look at their track record of what they've actually done to fight for life in the past.
This is a big issue. I can keep going, but I'm going to give you guys a chance. What do you got? What should we do?
Well, there are various organizations and efforts to help educate pregnant women about their options. So doing things like helping them get an ultrasound, because statistically, after a woman has an ultrasound, she is much, 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 much less likely to go through with an abortion because she sees that looks like a baby. It is a baby in there. You see that heartbeat, and it becomes, you hear the heartbeat, it becomes harder to go through with it. And then educate about options like baby boxes, like adoption, and things like that. And all the people that would love to adopt a baby. And so I think education is a big thing. Just making those efforts to support people in crisis pregnancies and stuff like that, to show them love, show them options. A lot of times people get an abortion because they don't really think they have any other option. Like, my life is over if I go through with this. Well, it's not. Your life's not going to be over. And then another thing.
But you mentioned education.
Yeah.
I don't have in front of me the demographics of folks that seek out abortions, but I would imagine there's a large contingency of younger women doing this, teenage pregnancies, that sort of thing. I mean, it's a gruesome subject, but our younger folks need to know what this is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, once they're to an appropriate age, they need to know what abortion is, what it truly is.
Yeah.
It's not a way to get out of something. It's very much more than that. And so maybe just talk, and if you've got young people in your home, just have the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and let them know if people realized this is not some just safe, sterile medical procedure. This is a violent, gruesome thing that happens, and it's gut wrenching when you see the pictures of babies that have been aborted, and it's terrible. But do the things that we've said already. But in addition to that, and I need to give Alan a chance to weigh in here on his suggestion, but I think the most powerful thing that we need to be doing and not neglecting is praying about it. When you look at the Israelites, when they were in captivity in Egypt, when they were in captivity in Babylon, they didn't solve that situation by having an uprising or something like that. They didn't solve it through political means. They solved it by crying out to the Lord, and the Lord delivered them. And so I think, yes, use the levers of politics, use what we can do strategically, but don't do it to the exclusion. Don't feel like it's all in our hands. Be crying out to God on behalf of the innocent, and see what he does. I think he's still very much active in the world geopolitically, just like he was in biblical times. And I firmly believe that prayer is not the kind of thing that is, well, can't think of anything else to do, so I guess now all we can do is pray. It's not the last resort, it's the first resort.
This is not we've done prayer episodes.
We have.
But you're right. Sometimes we think we pray because it's just what you do. Mm-hmm. It really works, y'all. If you pray, it really works. That's why we're instructed to pray by Jesus himself, telling us you should pray, and pray kind of like this. It works. God is working. And some folks don't want to believe that. I believe miracles still happen, and the reason is if you pray for something and God intervenes, to me that seems like a miracle. So I think that you should pray for things that you think are impossible. So keep praying.
Alan, do you have suggestions?
The only thing I would share is to build on what you all have is, don't ignore, if you know somebody's going through a hard time, or, Joe mentioned compassion a few minutes ago. I think Christians, I had an older man, I've shared this before, he said that the world judges the church on unfaithful Christians, but I'm also going to add on cold Christians, or Christians who think they're perfect.
Maybe Bible thumpers.
Something like that. And let people know, don't ignore a problem, and let people know that you're not struggling alone, and don't shame, Don't shame anybody. I think we've all been shamed. Don't shame anybody. Go try to help somebody. I mean, obviously you don't want to enable promiscuous behavior and all those things. If that's the case, I don't know, but just be approachable. The church needs to be sensitive and don't ignore, be involved. And Joe mentioned, politics a little bit. I know that's another emotional thing. And I would just build on Joe's suggestion that, politicians are known for what? Saying things to get a vote. So research what they stand for, but hold them accountable. Hold them accountable.
And like Daniel said too, see not just what they say, what they've done.
Because most of the time they're going to come back around, and as we know, I mean, politicians are what, like us, human, get caught up in the political spectrum, the dollars, the power, all those things, and people may say things to snag a vote. I'm in accountability. Did you do 4 years later? Did you do what you said you were going to do? Let's talk about it. Don't run from me. I want to talk about it. Accountability.
Do you corner politicians?
They don't. Some don't like having. Well, they like certain crowds, but anyway, for the if they come out to the in the common area, we'll have those discussions.
Yeah.
But politics, yes, it's important if that's your thing. Research, but also hold people accountable, and don't just vote for somebody because they're telling you what you want to hear.
You had one verse. You said. You were going to bring up Romans 12.
Yep, Romans 12:2. And I mean, just paraphrasing, just a flyover, it instructs us not to be conformed to the world, but transformed by God's will. It just means we follow Scripture rather than culture. As far as we don't, we're going to strive to not only do what's right, but do what's scriptural. We mentioned helping people, showing compassion, be visible, not being degrading to someone who's maybe going through a situation that on any level, maybe you're the parent of someone who's may have an abortion, or you may be the person, or you may be the man, and just that we're showing compassion and love and visibility.
If we just show compassion and love, you might not know what somebody's going through, whether it's this or something else. I think that's the end. That's what you got to do.
We're all in the same water, just a different boat.
There you go. That's right. We're over time. Daniel, can you take us home?
Yeah, absolutely. So, dear listener, we would love to hear your thoughts. I almost hate to ask for it on this topic. It might get crazy. Who knows? But let us have it. We'd love to know what your thoughts are on this. We appreciate you bearing with us this long and letting us be a part of your spiritual diet as you consider some heady and some significant things. Whatever you think about abortion or how to deal with it or not deal with it, I don't think anybody can deny that it is an issue of great significance that deserves careful consideration and thoughtful handling. And so anyway, thank you, dear listener, and we want to thank the elders at the South Green Street Church of Christ for making soul training possible. On behalf of Alan and Joe, I'm Daniel. Until next time, keep soul training.
Soul training. Time to practice what you preach. Ooh, yeah. Yes, we do. We've got soul training.
To learn more, you can email us at soultrainingpodcast@gmail.com, or you can write to us, P.O. Box 503, Glasgow, Kentucky, 42142. That's Soul Training.